Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Home and Beyond Kootenay Conversations podcast. So excited that you've taken the time to join us for another exciting episode. I've got special guest Kenny White here on the channel today. He's not only a well-regarded, well-respected local contractor, he's also a family man and a beauty of a human being. The conversation today, we're going to talk about his insights into renovations on a home, building a home, when the right time is to contact your contractor, and just tips that maybe you can use to keep your house in the best possible condition. So stay tuned, enjoy the conversation. Kenny, great to see you, great to have you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, I mean, tell us your story here, man. Like, Kenny White Contracting, when did you start it? Kind of what drove you to start your business?
Well, I got into carpentry. I took the high school course with Mike Mondin, and I wanted to be a fireman, but that didn't pan out. But for the interview process, I took a trade for points on my interview, but I ended up really liking carpentry. So Bernie Mason, who's from Fruitvale, he got me my start in Kelowna with Norson. So I worked there for 2 years, and I came back and worked for Cliff Thompson, and then eventually got on with tech, and then I would do side projects, after work and weekends, and then it kind of started from there. It started growing, and I really liked doing it. So it got to a point where I had to make a decision whether to go this route or stay at tech, which was was safe and secure and a pension.
Right.
Which was it was good, but I really liked
very much the 9 to 5, right? When you work in tech, right? You got your shift, you show up and you go home, and right. I mean, totally. not a ton of room for advancement in the trades stuff out there. I think you kind of get into your spot and you just kind of do that. So
but it was good. Like I spent 10 years up there, and I was treated well. But I just knew, like, if one day on my deathbed, I was going to regret not spread my wings. And so that's why I left. Trying to leave on a good note, so if things don't work out, that I could go back. But
well, I don't think you need to worry about that fallback plan anymore. I mean, you're always growing and doing good.
Yeah, we're trying anyways.
So when did you start? What year did you establish your company and kind of step away from tech?
So when I was at tech, I had an established company, but in 2016 is when I left.
2016.
Yeah.
So
I went full time.
Yeah, I mean, so 9 years, kind of been out on your own here, right?
Yeah.
I mean, taking on all sorts of projects.
Yeah.
And so what's your primary? Projects, like are you doing new builds? Like I've seen you do stuff out at the lake. I've seen you do, you're my go-to guy when my mom needs stuff. I know you've done stuff on her mobile home right, all that. So what are the projects you kind of take on the most of? And what are the projects you really love to do?
We'll take on more renovations. Nothing too small or nothing too big. So we'll do a lot of bigger renovations or additions, but then we'll do probably one new build a year.
Yeah.
But we also have electricians, plumbers, painters. Obviously carpenters and laborers that working for us too. So the only thing that we will really sub out now is our drywall mudding.
Right.
Yes, and the finishing. So.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I also sub out my drywall money.
Yeah. We'll hang the board, but
I did my whole basement, and then I called in a guy to come in and just do all the taping and mudding because I just
saved the headache.
Didn't want to do it. Right. So as is the tradition that we started last episode, we had milkshakes with Jake. Today we've got slushy Shirley Temples.
Unreal.
So cheers, buddy. Thanks for coming in, and That's pretty tasty.
It's really good.
I might have to remember that recipe.
The Swan Dogger knows that I like.
I had the inside scoop. The inside scoop. Was told Kenny really likes a good Shirley Temple.
They got me Shirley Temple lip chap. Yeah.
Nice. So you're a great help to, I know, all the realtors in the area and also all your customers in the area. You were actually supposed to be the very first guest on the podcast here. Yeah. And the day we were supposed to do it, we got their first cold snap of the year. it caused all sorts of issues, and you called me up and said, I hate to do it, I gotta cancel because I got all these emergency calls to take care of my clients, right?
Totally.
So, I mean, how important is it to you to, I mean, be available for your community and your clients to, I mean, really get out there and help them in a situation that you can't really plan for?
Well, it's everything, because it's repeat business too. You know, if someone else gets there to help someone in a crisis, then, you know, you've probably lost that client because someone else will make them happy, and that's kind of the game, right? And so it's really important to me that a customer's happy. It's probably the biggest challenge, because things are expensive, and you know, you got timelines, and being in the Kootenays, getting materials sometimes isn't the easiest. So you know, but our hardware stores, you know, Home Hardware in Rona, they do a really good job of bringing things in. They've got good people in place for support to get things to you on time, and what I found with them is going through their stores, you know, you're getting things in one piece, as opposed to, like, say you order something online and it's not going through the stores. A lot of times it'll come in damaged.
And sometimes I've found, I mean, I've bought a lot of different things online, and I mean, sometimes you don't, the picture doesn't tell the whole story. Yeah. Right? Totally. Buying the item, I mean, from a supplier through an Amazon or a whatever website that you're using, you don't always get what you thought you were getting. Totally. Right? Yeah. And I mean, getting you to, I mean, go and talk to the guys at Home Hardware or Rona and have a conversation to make sure that you're getting what your client is really wanting. Totally. I mean, I'm sure is super helpful for your business and kind of what you got going on. Yeah, and you know, now that we're in it for been 8.5 years, it's what makes it a little easier is that you've had failures, right? And so different experience. So this is what worked and this is what doesn't. You know, if something's $150 more than the product that they want, well, maybe you can coach them getting this product because this one fails when it's used in this type of way or in this environment. You know, right. Blah, 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 making sure that you're hooking up your client with the right product. That's right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So, I mean, with the time of year that we're in, winter, and I mean these projects and the materials that you can get that maybe are seasonal. What are the projects that you would love to see your clients do more of during the winter months? Like anything prep wise, any maintenance stuff that you think that would, I mean, maybe save you from those emergency calls on a Wednesday afternoon? Yeah, disconnect your hose. Disconnect your hose. Yeah, and make sure your hose bibs are off. Probably make sure. Even if they're frost free. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I have a story for this. Yeah. So I live in Trail. Mm-hmm. I normally blow out my own sprinkler system. Oh yeah. Right. I've done it for years. I've done it since I lived back in Beaver Falls at my parents' house. Oh yeah. And so I don't actually remember if I blew out my sprinkler system this year or not, or what I did. God. But I'm at the office and my neighbor calls the office. He doesn't have my phone number. He calls the office because he's looking for me. I happen to be here working. 368-5000? Yeah. And so he calls the office. I pick up the phone. He's like, there's a spray of water going on in your backyard right now. When was this? This was maybe 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah. So it was kind of just like your emergency calls, right? It right, cold snap. Yeah. And it wasn't even the first cold snap of the year. Like it had been colder and it was totally fine. And then it was still cold, but it wasn't like the -10, -15. Yeah. Like we were like -6. So it was like, didn't even think anything of it. Yeah. Well, so it was the line that comes in. I got 2 lines for my sprinkler system. One that is a higher pressure line that goes, into everything, into my underground sprinklers, and then one that's attached to the rest of my house that, is on a frost free. Yeah. So the PVC comes out of the house, goes into the ground, and so there's a section of it that's not buried in the ground, so it's exposed to the elements, and it froze and it cracked, and then the high pressure now just had it spraying water 20 feet in my backyard. Well, Trail is super high pressure too, especially where you live, eh? Well, and that's on its own separate regulator to keep it at a higher pressure than you would have in your house. Yeah. So it was even higher. So, my first response is I got the shut off inside, but obviously in my winter prep for the year, I didn't go into my basement and turn off my water to my sprinkler system. So on top of disconnecting your hose, turn off those shutoffs if you got them.
You know what? Another thing that people don't think of that is super important is like lift your blinds off at the sill of your windows.
Oh yeah.
So because when you get the real cold snaps, you get the condensation in your windows, right? And everyone thinks it's a broken seal. So we'll have callbacks like, oh, my window's failing, blah blah blah. But it's just air circulation. You need to circulate the air to get to it.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
It probably helps keep any chance of like mold growth and stuff in kind of behind the blinds through the winter and stuff too, right?
Yeah, or like, in the crevices of your window.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good tips.
Yeah, because it's so cold outside, it's 20 degrees in your house.
Yeah, I mean, everything condensates, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's why you sometimes get frost on the inside of your car window, because you got the condensation in there and it sticks and it freezes.
Yeah.
So there you go. Home maintenance tips with Kenny.
Yeah.
So, maybe I'll post some more on his on his social medias.
Yeah.
What do you find that, homeowners most are kind of prepping for, like the projects through the winter that you see? The spring comes around, do you find that people are planning specific projects for the spring, or is it kind of just a mix of everything?
No, so a lot of calls in, I find the phone explodes March and September. So in March, everyone wants their outdoor projects ready for when the kids go back to school.
Right.
September, it's the inside stuff. And I call it the Christmas crunch. So, these are the bigger jobs that come up that, a kitchen or bathrooms, whatever, that, they have to be done for Christmas. So
right, getting ready for the holidays, for the big family gatherings, things like that. The build that you're probably most recently known for the most right now is your house in Montrose.
Oh yeah,
that's a project. It stands out.
Yeah,
it's bigger than anything else that's there, right? And obviously you were your own contractor for that project. You and your guys took that on.
Yeah.
So, what do you like building your own house? Is it super stressful for you? Is it more stressful than when you're doing a client for like a project for a client or?
No, it's not more stressful.
No,
it's a lot easier because you control the budget, and you can only yell at yourself.
Yeah.
I find hitting budgets is hard because on a new build it's a little easier because it's fresh. Everything's plumb level and square. Where an existing house isn't, and you're tying into someone else's work, or settlement issues, and the list goes on and on.
Right.
But one thing about your own build is you can stop wherever, or you can buy a high end, you can buy a low end, you can buy mid range. You can play with that a bit, and it's all in your control.
Right.
It's sometimes doing it for clients, it's not in your control. It's depending on what's going on in their life, and what their budget is, and what their wants and needs are, and.
Well, it's probably a little bit easier for you to not have to kind of translate what somebody wants. I would expect that you have an idea of the products and services that are available, and you do a great job of explaining that to your clients. But there's all sorts of people out there. I know when I try and explain something to my mom, I have to draw out a picture for her. She has to be able to see it rather than like envisioning in her head. I would expect that, with this being your full-time job, you kind of have the mental image of where you'd like to see things kind of turn out and go. And
I had this journeyman one time, his name was Ron Hope, and he said something that clicked, and I don't know if it was to me or one of the apprentices, but he said, you can't get somewhere without knowing where you're going.
Right.
And what he meant by that is like, whatever you're building, you got to envision the finished product before you start. So you're working towards something, right?
Yeah.
And it's not just key for building, it's like in life, right?
For sure. Yeah. Yeah, it's same thing in my business in real estate, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to just, go out there and try and throw yourself out into the market. But if you don't have a game plan of why you're better than everybody else or what you're trying to achieve by whatever marketing you're doing or something
That's
like that.
right.
From my side, right? I mean, obviously your business is a little bit different, but it's the same concept.
Yeah, same principles, eh?
Right? I mean, you gotta have that plan and really have that focus to get where you're going successfully. Otherwise, you kind of stumble and trip up and all of that, and it makes everything that much harder and take that much longer.
And if you don't know where you're gonna end at the end of the day, like if you're not working towards a goal each day, then how do you know where your day's gonna end up and what tomorrow looks like? And you gotta have a bit of a plan.
So what was your goal with this house in Montrose? Was it just time for a change? Because you had another house in Montrose that you sold. Right. So was it just an ability to kind of showcase your skills? Was it family orientated? You needed more space because your kids are getting older, or like what was?
Needed another bedroom because we had another kid, and we could have put another bedroom in the basement, but it meant taking out. We had a hockey room in that house, and then it meant taking that out, and so that's something that my kids really enjoy, and I didn't consider that as an option. So this house has another bedroom or two. So
does it have another hockey rink?
It does, yes.
It does,
yes,
yeah. I was going to ask if there was any special features that you've added for your family. Is that the one? Is that the special, like the one of a kind, unique feature in your house? You think is the hockey ring in the basement? Yeah.
It's our third house with a hockey room. The kids really enjoy it. But this one we did something different. Is we've pre-plumbed it for a kitchen for down the road. So, if one day my parents have to go into a home and can't get in, or just whatever happens in life, that's another option to put a suite there we got it the separate entrance, and
the kids get older and it's nice. My parents ran into the problem. The house that I grew up in was, by the time they were done with it, 3,200 square feet. Once my older sister, myself, and my younger sister all moved out.
Oh, you got a younger sister too?
Yeah, she's 5 years younger than me.
Really?
Yeah. So once the three of us kind of had moved on, all of a sudden you've got a 3,200 square foot house with two people living in it, and that house wasn't built with the future plan in mind. It was a great family house and it worked for what they needed it for, right? But it's nice that you were able to see the potential of a future of the kids are off at college, or they've got their own wives or spouses or whatever, and you can now turn that space into a suite for your parents to kind of fill that space back up and keep your family connected. Yeah,
totally.
So how successful is the basement hockey been?
Well, it's good because
I saw the social media video of the Michigan goal by your kid, right?
Yeah.
So do you attribute that goal to?
Yeah, maybe a little bit, But no, we got a smoke heater billet this year too, and I know he's ripping pucks down there.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes he'll have buddies over and they'll play down there, and it's just something also to do. Like if we have company over, they have kids, they can go down there and just something for all the kids to do and hang out with. And
better than them sitting on their phones or playing video games or something like that.
Yeah, and then my oldest son, like for his birthday this year, we did like a mini sticks tournament down there, and his hockey team came over, and
right on.
It's unreal. So.
Yeah, that's sick.
It's cool.
Kind of gives you a way to kind of tie everybody into the community and just have a good time, and it's a skill that they get to learn by just playing in their basement.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So it's always cool.
Yeah.
So Ed, do you have a project that you've ever done that really stands out in your mind as being like the coolest thing, or like just maybe the wildest thing that you've ever had to like experience on a job site?
A few. But we built a house in Christian Lake in 2000 and I don't know. I think it was 2000 or 2001. 2001, I think. And just the design was super unique, like the roof line, because it was all open timber. So the house is a square box, right? Yeah. And then off each corner is we put up 6x10 timbers, and they all met at the peak. And at the peak, we got a West Kootenay mechanical to make a bracket. So all these beams, they came to basically a star, right? And they all sat in this welded bracket. So all the pressure's on at the top and then the corners of your house.
Yeah.
And then from there,
So did it kind of look like a gazebo, like the inside of a gazebo?
Yeah,
and you were
that's right.
standing, yeah.
Yeah. And then it was just a 2x12 framing from there. So it's all vaulted ceilings. But one thing on a steep pitched roof house, like, you know, on a lake or something like that, you see that A-frame style, is you lose lots of space on those with closets, right?
Right.
Because you're losing like 5 feet of the house. And
Yeah.
that one you didn't, right? Because it's coming from the four corners, right? So it's gables on all four sides of the house. So you're getting daylight,
Right.
you know, 360 degrees. It was
That's
just
cool.
a very unique and well thought out house. It was super neat.
Yeah, so do your clients bring you the design? Do you
Yeah.
work with them with the design? Like, do you have...
I get Rita Piva from East Trail there. She does my prints, so she's my draftsman.
Yeah.
And she's incredible.
Yeah.
She's good. And then
So is she just giving you like the structural plans, or is she actually giving like renderings for your clients so that they have an idea of I mean, again, to that end goal of what they're looking for? Is she just the technical side of thing, or is she like the architect almost of the build?
Just the architect, and she helps, you know, bring their ideas to paper. And then Teresa Baker or Stephanie Conroy. If someone needs like an interior designer, those are the two I use.
Nice.
They're both really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great that you have the connections to really, I mean, provide your clients or anybody who contacts you and reaches out and says, this is what I'm thinking, and you say, perfect, let me put you in touch with
That's right.
the person I've got who I trust that can really, I mean, set you up for success, so that once we get into the project that everybody knows the direction that we're going. Right?
Yeah, 100%. And you know, if you have to get an engineer involved, there's a second set of plans, so you're following both, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a structural set and a Rita set, but
yeah. So I mean, you got how many guys in your crew now?
like 16 right now.
16.
Yeah.
So pretty big crew, right?
Mm-hmm.
Grown over the years.
Yeah.
When I was in university, I worked in a kitchen.
Yeah.
Right, with a bunch of staff, and there was the pranks there. I mean, everyone was professional doing their job. I've worked on some job sites. I know the same thing. Any great pranks that you can attribute to any of your staff, or are they all pretty professional? Anybody send in someone for a 2x4 stretcher or anything like that?
No. Wow, not that I know of, anyways. But the fellas wouldn't tell me that. But when I was an apprentice, we had a guy. We sent a guy in Kelowna to the hardware store for a 2x4 stretcher, and or skyhook,
Yeah, in the restaurant, it was sending them into the cooler for a bucket of steam or the bacon stretcher, right? Same thing, right? Like good times for that. So I wondered, my favorite one right now that I see on the social medias is the stand-up construction site challenge. Have you seen that one where they slide the 2x4, the 10-foot long 2x4 through the back of the shirt, and they help lay them down? They go, okay, now you got to stand up, and then they grab their grab their nailer and they nail the 2x4 to the floor, and the guy's stuck on his shirt, just like flopping around, not able to get up.
That's funny. We did screw a guy's lunchbox to a picnic table one time.
Nice.
So at the end of the day, you're going to leave, and anyways,
yeah, I got to find the tools. They're all packed up in the trailer, and
exactly.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, you got to have some fun. I mean, it's all about being professional, but I mean, having a crew that's happy makes a big difference.
and I hope my guys are, but they're a bunch of good guys, and I'm the one that gets the credit, but they're the ones that's actually doing the work, and representing my name, and but it's them that needs the credit. They work their butts off every day and don't complain, and they do a great job. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you've been my go-to guy for, I mean, projects for my mom and stuff. I mean, I do a lot of my own stuff in my own house, so you haven't really worked on anything for me personally, but I know I've called you lots of times for clients and stuff like that, and you've come out, and I mean, I've never had a word of complaint about any of the work that you and your guys have done. So I mean, that's always, it speaks highly, right? Because I mean, I think it's pretty tough to, one thing goes wrong in a project, and all of a sudden you're the bad guy, right? And it makes it tough.
One place that getting back to people, like I need to grow with that, and been trying hard to do a better job of getting back to people, because you're getting about 109 phone calls a day, right? For work or guys calling you or this or that, stores and suppliers, and so it's not it's not the easiest job in the world, but and people do get mad at you, and so it's hard to grow thick skin, but you can only do your best, right? And that's what we try to do, but there's places where I can improve and try and do that. So
yeah, well, and I mean, there's nobody to higher up to kind of pass the buck to.
It's your responsibility.
Yeah,
the
buck stops with you being, I mean, the business owner, and I mean, kind of it is your name, and you're the face of that company for yourself, right? So I can imagine the stress, at least for me. I mean, I got Remax to lean back on, right? Like, I have my own business, but I mean, if something really goes wrong, I go talk to the broker and say, hey, can you help me figure this out? So I could see how it can be stressful to be kind of the next rung up, the top tier, the tip of the pyramid kind of thing. So you get the most light shone on you about anything that happens in a project.
Totally, yeah, and that's what I was saying before. It's kind of what I meant. It's like it can go either way. If the guys do a great job and you're on time, on budget, then you're the hero. But if something goes wrong, then you're the zero.
Yeah,
yeah.
So Jake and I, when he was here, he was the last guest, and I mean, obviously, we were talking from a realtor perspective, and I mean, the need for new homes and renovations and stuff. And to this point, we're not getting a lot of new builds in the area. So, I mean, we definitely see more renovations than we see new builds.
Yeah, right now, for sure, yeah.
So on the technology side of thing, are you seeing, trying to implement a bunch of technology in these builds, or is it really kind of dependent on the person? Is there any products or technology-based things? Like, I love smart switches. All the TV behind you, the other ones in my office, my lights here, I can tell my phone to turn everything off and it just shuts it down, and I love it, right? Yeah. But is there anything, products or technology that you have liked seeing implemented in houses that you wish maybe more people did implement in houses? Anything that way?
Yeah, a few things. The lights on the front of my house I could change, on my phone.
Yeah.
Different colors, different patterns. And the reason for that was so I didn't have to get up on a ladder and put Christmas lights up, right?
Right.
Or you can do colors for Easter, or Halloween, or yada yada. And so it's a lot. It's more safe at the end of the day.
Right.
So I like that, and it's obviously LED, so it's energy efficient. The other one I really like is we put a electric main water shut off in a house.
Oh, okay.
So it detects your flow of water, and if anything over 0.5 of a liter, it notifies you. So if you're at work, something fails,
my sprinkler line blows out,
so you could just go on your phone and turn your water main off.
Yeah, that's cool.
And so it was obviously a little more money for the client, but peace of mind.
Yeah.
For them. So.
Yeah, I think, the technology is great. I mean, have you been seeing, I don't know, it's more of an electrician job probably than you, but like the solar panel, stuff like that, are you incorporating any of that into your builds and your guys, taking on any of those projects yet? Or?
Yeah, because we have two electricians.
Yeah.
Obviously, like our house is ready to go for solar. You have to live in it for 6 months to get the rebate at the time, but
right.
Just doing the preliminary work for that, or car chargers in your garage, right? Setting up for the future. So yeah,
it's interesting. We're starting to see a little bit of the technology stuff come into some of the sales, right, of houses, but it's not a lot. We haven't sold a ton of houses that have solar systems in them yet, or some of this smart technology that's there. So it's. Do you think that there's a call for that in this area, or people just kind of more just want to get into a comfortable living situation and they don't really care about the bells and whistles?
I think people, like when I worked at tech, one of the guys when I was spare boss, and he'd always say, "Is this is this a need or a nice to have, right?
Right.
And I think right now with how expensive life is, I think the upper technology, like, I think it's a nice to have.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to go spend $40,000 on a solar system, you know, when you got $200 to your name at the end of the month. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think life right now is, I think it's going to come back, but I think where life is right now, people are having a hard time.
Right.
You know, and I think that's why the new builds are down so much, right? So one of the joys about doing a renovation is you can do it in phases, phase 1, 2, and 3. You can do a kitchen this year, and then next year or 2 years from now, you can do a bathroom. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not swallowing the elephant whole. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that probably that goes back to the planning process of, I mean, kind of what you've done with the hockey rink is, I mean, potentially that's phase 2 or 3 down the road for you guys, is turning that into a kitchenette or something instead of it, right? So
or someone else, right? You know, so if we go to sell it, like when we sold our house, the people that bought it, you know, they're not into hockey.
Yeah.
So one of the things is demo the hockey room and have it ready for drywall for them, right? And so this just gives someone another option.
Yeah.
So
I mean, when my parents built the big house that was in East Trail here, and they were kind of what you said, planning for a next phase of their life where maybe they weren't able to go up and down the stairs.
That's right, yeah.
So when we built the framing for our main floor, it was completely open, right, of kitchen, living, dining room, and it was, I mean, a huge space.
Yeah.
But they actually put the proper studs in the wall for anchoring so that they could actually have taken the dining room out and turned that into the bedroom on the main floor. So that, I mean, again, a phase down the road, right? I mean, super important to think about that kind of thing when you're planning your renovation, because it can probably save you a lot of hassle and headache down the road.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there anything that you wish that I mean, people thought more of when they came to you with their plans, or I mean, a project that just sticks out as it would have been really nice to have thought of this before we implemented what we implemented?
Ooh, that's a tough question. I would say what a person maybe might overlook is how much small details are. You know, and you say you always, your projects, you know, the last 5% are it's so costly, right? Because the fine details is, you know, it takes a while, and
right.
You know yourself from doing your own renovations, right? You get to baseboards and doorknobs and stuff like that. It's
yeah.
You know, it's a push, right? And that's when your budgets are tired, and it's tough, and that's where I find the biggest challenges is staying within it, because, you know, what I thought a doorknob would be acceptable for you is maybe you want something different. Maybe you want, like, for instance, that levered handle you can get with the machine grooves on it, right?
Right.
That adds another $12 to it. You know, 12 times 43 in a house, or whatever it is, right? Is, you know, that adds up, right?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, even we pointed out the doorknob. Like, I went and bought this doorknob because the one that was with my office is a stainless steel doorknob that sits here. And once I painted black, I mean, a stainless steel doorknob right here would stand out and kind of be right. So I mean, it was a small detail thing that I went to after the fact. Now, I mean, now I'm only working in an office space and it's not that big of a deal, but I can totally see how in the projects, and it's probably a little bit frustrating to a lot of homeowners that, I mean, like you're saying, the last 5% takes a lot of the time.
It's tough,
because it's so detailed, and so you got to get it perfect, because if you don't get it perfect, you're going to get the angry client. But it's way easier to slap some 2x6s and 2x4s together with a framing nailer.
That's right.
That's going to be hidden behind drywall and have screws driven through it for plumbing and wiring and stuff, than to, I mean, put the baseboard in, and now it all has to be filled with putty and sanded and painted, and it's just a bigger, longer process for that last 5%.
Totally. And then the other thing that's completely different from that, but is what's frustrating on my end is you put a lot of time into bidding, you know, doing bids and quotes and estimates, and but when a client has multiple people bidding the project, to make sure that it's apples to apples, You know what I mean? So like, I lost out on a bid because I was, $3,000 higher than the other guy, but the other guy didn't have, this and that in there because, his company doesn't offer that. So, okay, that guy was just, that client was just going to hire someone to do this. Well, we have, for instance, a painter, a cabinet maker, you know what I mean? So we could provide that service. So that was in my quote, but then it's not in the others. So,
right.
When client gets, an email saying this is what your price is, and then you get an email from someone else, and then you just look at the two subtotals, not the line items, how do you win?
Right. So, well, and I experience very much the same thing, and I think all realtors, especially, the RE/MAX office were, kind of the top office around with number of sales and stuff like that. So we have a quality behind us, the same as your company has a quality behind them, but we're always fighting when you're going in for a listing or that new property that's going to come up onto the market, and they want to get 4 different realtors to talk to them. And the big thing is what's it going to cost me? What's your commission going to be?
Yeah.
Right. And the numbers can be vastly different. Like there can be a drastic change between what a RE/MAX professional realtor is charging and what somebody who's only doing the bare minimum is charging, right? But a lot of people only see that number, right? And
that's right. Quality products too on my end, like a bathtub. You can get a bathtub for say $580, or you can spend $900, but that, the guy on the left, he's quoting you on the $600 tub. The guy on the right's going the $900. So the client a lot of times thinking, well, this guy's ripping me off. Meanwhile, it's a thicker tub, it's a Max or whatever. But
right.
So it's, but communication's key in that, and that's some place I could probably grow in, but every day you're learning and you're trying. So
well, I know that you like to try and build things. So as much as you love to see your clients and your customers, right? Ideally, they don't need to call you back every couple of years to fix something.
Yeah.
Right? You want to do it right for them the first time and make sure that it's a solid product at the end of the day, so that it's going to last them, 10, 15, 20 plus years, right? So, that makes a big difference too, I think, in what you're saying. You can buy the $600 tub or the $900 tub. Well, you might have to replace that $600 tub before you replace the $900 tub because it's more likely to fail.
Correct.
Right. Yeah. So, it's great to know that, you're looking after your clients in that way. The same way that we here at RE/MAX and myself look after our clients when we're, going through the real estate process. It shows in the business. It shows in the end game. It's why you're one of the best best construction companies around, for sure. So, I know I've called you lots in the past for I've got something came up in an inspection and I need somebody to take another look at it because right. So how has the connection? Do you enjoy the connection that you get with the real estate? I know you're good buddies with Jake. You were one of the Kens for his wedding after the Barbie movie came out. So that was a big thing, right? So I know you have a good connection with him in our office, and you've done stuff for me. I'm sure you've done stuff for other realtors in our office. Do you? Yeah,
and Century 21 too. We do quite a bit of it, and it's good because one, it's a potential lead to a job, and you're helping everyone else out. Yeah. So, which you feel good about that.
Yeah.
So
do you enjoy it? Is it sometimes a hassle when you get that call from the realtor and you're like, oh, what do they want now? Or you're always happy to hear from us?
Yeah, you don't make any money at it, but at the same time, a home inspector has a tough job, and because they're liable. And I remember this one example is person bought a house, and they went back on the home inspector because the home inspector in their 56-page report didn't say that driveway sloped towards the house, right? And so I don't even know what happened with it or whatever, but it was a thing.
Yeah.
And so they got to document every, nook and cranny and anything that potentially could go wrong, which is tough because then it sucks for the guy buying the house, and it really sucks for the guy selling the house because, it wrecks a lot of deals.
Inspections are financing, and inspections are definitely the two biggest things that affect a deal. Obviously, the financing is money; you got to be able to afford it, right? But it's a lot of times. I know I call you when I've seen a lot. I've been through a lot of inspections, more than your average, homeowner is going to see probably in their life, just because of the number of clients I help, and I go through all the inspection walkthroughs because that's part of my job, right? So I hear stuff from an inspector, and a lot of the times it doesn't seem like that big red flag to me, right? And I'm not always able to indicate to a seller or to a buyer why. Maybe it's being perceived as a big deal, or maybe it's not a big deal, or maybe I don't know. So it's always great to be able to kind of call in the.
Well, I think a lot of people, you're dealing with different people every day, right?
100%.
And so a lot of people get really worried, and they don't know. So you get that.
And everybody views it differently.
That's right.
Right. So it's you're absolutely right. We lose a lot of deals based off of inspection, and whether it's an actual concern or it's a fix that's outside of somebody's budget, and those are valid. It's always nice to get some of those ones where maybe it's something I haven't seen as a realtor before. I know there was one house that I got you to come out and look at, and it was a manufactured home is I think what it was, but the inspector went in and looked and said there was something wrong with how all the floor joists were, right? And we go, okay, that's super weird, right? Because it's a manufactured home. They would have had to build it in a plant and bring there, right? So I know I called you came out and you looked at it and you go, no, this is structured this way so that the ductwork can go through it, because if it needed to sit on grade, and right, and it put the homeowner or the buyer, who's now the homeowner, completely at ease to know that this issue that maybe was flagged as a major thing from a home inspection report has now become, no, that's the way that it should have been, right? And now I think it probably helps you down the road if that client ever wanted to have work done. She's got somebody that she knows that gave her an honest opinion, didn't just try and tell her something to make a quick buck of, that would need to be fixed. You need to call me in right away, right? The honesty and the integrity to make sure that they're getting accurate information that actually applies to the problem that they have. So I think is a huge deal of especially in that situation. For a lot of people, it's buying a home is the biggest transaction of their life. Yeah. Right? So the last thing you want to be worried about when you're making the biggest transaction of your life is, I'm going to close on this deal. I'm going to spend $400,000 doing it, and then I'm going to have to spit out another $50,000 or $60,000 to take on a renovation if they're not prepared for it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. What do you think Jim Pattison's biggest transaction he's ever made is? Is he up?
I have no idea. Maybe. Yeah. What do you think what yacht is worth? $100 million?
Man, it's got a helipad.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but
it's gotta be.
You got some of those boats and things like that, even their private jets, things like that they buy, right? Are stupid money.
Oh, it's insane. But we went to Coeur d'Alene for New Year's, and we went to Coeur d'Alene Resort's my favorite place on the planet. And so we went and watched fireworks there. And there's this person, I don't know if he owned the resort or what, but he showed up with his wife in this boat. It was probably, 35 feet or whatever. It was a big boat, right? And he gets off where. So he waddles up, and I said, oh, hey, nice boat, man. And he's like, oh, that's just my little one, or whatever. And his wife's like, you like that? We didn't look stupid. I says, no. And I said, what's that worth? $500,000. Oh, it's a cheap one. Oh, $500,000. So my God, just disposable income, eh?
Yeah. Well, you got to think around here, $500,000 sets you up in a pretty nice house for your whole family most of the time. Prices are starting to go up, but.
Well, I remember I sold a house in the corner of Mill and Bruin in Fruitvale for, I think it was $525, and it was on the market for a while. And that house now would go for almost double. And I remember one of the realtors said to me, you know, if this was in Roslyn, then it would go for like $945. But anyways, like it's crazy that like that wasn't that long ago, and $500,000 then was like, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
Like anything over 350 was kind of crazy. Tipping at 4.
Yeah.
And then now like 500,000 is just like, you know, you kind of almost have to spend it. You know what I mean? Like to get a decent house.
Well, I mean, my house I bought in 2019, and it's more than doubled in value. In that period of time.
5 years, yeah.
Right? I mean, it's just the market's been a little bit wild here for the last, 5 years. So that
it has been.
Right? So here's a question that I'm actually interested to get your take on. So obviously location matters when I'm selling a house.
Yeah.
The difference between a house in Fruitvale or a house in Trail versus a house in Roslyn for the exact same house will have a different value based on where it's at. Do you obviously the builds that are taking place in those communities are going to be different.
Yeah.
But do you find that there's an increase in the cost of actually like the construction? Probably not so much based on location. Like the materials cost what the materials cost, and that's kind of it. Or do you find that you run into more challenges based on like the municipalities that you're dealing with or anything like that in the process?
Municipalities for sure, like some are more difficult to work with than others, but they're all pretty good around here.
Yeah.
But the flatter the lot, the cheaper the build.
Right.
Right. The lower the house, the cheaper to build.
Right.
You're not up and down. And one thing I would do if I was to build again is put that basement in if you have that option. Some people will just put a crawl space in, and this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
Doesn't no judgment if people, you know,
100%.
don't do it.
Yeah.
But one thing about a basement, you don't have to clad it, right?
Right.
So you go up that second story, now you're cladding.
Right.
Right. And the house I live in now is a second story, but there's 3 floors. But like if you were to have that option to have a second floor and a crawl space, I would go down.
Right.
Right. Because you're just putting a membrane to waterproof it. That's it. And then you're burying it. Right.
Yeah.
So that living space is down below, and then you have a rancher up top.
Right.
So you're not up and down off a ladder, putting siding on.
Yeah.
And trimming out windows, 30 feet in the air.
Right. I mean, safety-wise, it probably makes it easier. Time-wise, it makes it quicker because you're not having to move scaffolds.
You're not up and down so much, yeah.
Right, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and then, though, like our climate here is minus 20 to plus 40. So you have a 60, and that's being generous. You could even go, minus 30 to plus 45. But you have about a 60-degree temperature range, throughout the year. So we have, it's really hard on your products because our ground moves so much, right?
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that leads to, you have to have your footings so deep anyway, right?
But your caulkings and your paint on the exterior, everyone's just like, oh, it's all our stuff, it's all water-based now, it's all garbage. Okay, yeah, that's a little bit true, but like our environment too, it's hard. Where Vancouver, you have more of a steady eddy, right?
Right. Yeah, and I think a little bit of that is on, back to the home maintenance that we kind of talked about at the beginning of the podcast. It's on the homeowner a little bit to keep up on those maintenance things with, the paint and the caulking and that kind of projects, and maybe they're not able to do it, and they have to give you a call to come and do some
or source a different
stuff,
product, like a composite decking or a vinyl vinyl decking or aluminum handrails as opposed to wood. But then there's some people that don't want that. They want that wood look or they want that maintenance.
Yeah.
So
and then it's totally. There's all sorts of products in our market. It's a nice thing to kind of the ages of the homes around here. Stuff on the West Trail Hill from early 1900s all the way to new builds at Redstone and stuff like that. Yeah. It provides interest. It provides lots of options, and probably helps with the suppliers of, the hardware stores bringing in products of different varieties because they know that there's going to be a buyer for what they bring in. They're not going to just buy something and sit on it for
for a long period of time, which gives you more opportunity to expand the horizons of some of your clients a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, do you like any major challenges that or opportunities even that you've seen of kind of growing your business in trail? We're obviously not a huge population, and there's a limit of the number of homes in the area. I know you've done stuff out at Christina Lake and even Castlegar for some bigger projects.
Yep.
Do you find that you need to expand your scope a little bit to keep your guys busy? Do you have enough?
Yeah, not until as of recently. Like right now, we're not buried, and we're buried. But it's usually busy enough in the trail area.
Yeah.
I know I really like Christina Lake, so I like to spend time out there. So to work out there, and there wasn't a lot of people working out there either. And with the Grand Forks floods, those guys they were really busy over there. But now that's catching up, right? And there's a couple out of towners that have moved in and want to work out there too. So that's so there's more people out there to do the work. But as of right now, there's enough to go around. But again, what kills it is the communication with clients or clients towards you. The bidding process and apples to apples.
Right. So you mentioned just there that a lot of times you guys are buried, like you're swamped with projects.
Yeah.
Right. When is the right time for somebody to reach out to you if they're thinking about doing a project? Like, would you rather that they like if it's a flicker of an idea in their head, do you want them contacting you then? Do you want them to wait until they've kind of got the main nuts and bolts of what they're looking to achieve? Like, when's the right time?
I think the flicker, because then you can maybe save them a step or two or 100, with the red tape as far as permitting goes, or getting in touch with draftsman or designer, right, or whoever,
right,
or past experiences with products and what they're trying to do. So I'd say initially right off the bat.
So is there any opportunity for, say, if somebody's listening to the podcast and they're a client that's thinking about selling their house and they needed some repairs done to a product, like, do they need to get themselves in the queue and the schedule dictates when they get taken care of, or is there an opportunity to depending on the size of the job?
Yeah, well,
right.
We got lots of guys now, so we usually can fit it in pretty quick. Yeah, and that wasn't always the case.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's nice too is sometimes you'll have a bunch of big jobs going on, and then you're waiting on one products or a sub trade. And then you can, if you have a filler list, you can fill them in at that point. Right, you go, I got 2 days here, or I got a day here, or a half day here, or whatever the case is, and
yeah. Well, I mean, maintenance and maybe those projects that are outstanding and can affect a home's value a lot. So it's definitely right. You're a good contact for people out there thinking about buying a home or selling a home to reach out to, and especially if they're looking at buying a home that's a project and they can go, hey, I'm going to close on this house. Can you come in and give me some thoughts and give me a bid on what I want to do, right? So that somebody's kind of ready to go once they get in, or if they're ready to sell or think they're ready to sell and the realtor comes through and says, oh, there's some stuff that you really should get taken care of. I mean, it's nice to have somebody like you that we can recommend to them to say, give Kenny a call and he'll send a guy out, they'll look at it, they'll get you on the list, and once he gets his guys through, we'll get you on the market. So it's nice to have that extra help.
And we do lots of work for people that have multiple rentals. So they'll come in and either be buying a place and that they want a price to make it into a rental, or maintenance, or there's a lot of plumbing that goes involved with water breaks or failures, right, that we'll be able to fit in for them. And with the nice part about having plumbers, electricians, gas fitters, painters, carpenters, laborers, is that when this stuff comes in, we can triage it, and you know, if something needs to get bumped to fit that in that day because it's an emergency, we can do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So if you had to go back to, 2016, when you, stopped working at tech and took this on full time, right? So jumping into really, it's your business, it's your full time everything. If you were able to give yourself advice back then, or advice to somebody else who's starting their own business, what do you think that would be if you could have changed something or given yourself advice?
You're gonna fail.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're gonna fail, and try not to be so hard on yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that there would have been any?
Failure is learning too.
100% it is.
You're gonna have challenges, and you're gonna meet difficult clients every single year.
Yeah.
And just do your best, and
yeah,
great, that's all you can do.
Great
do your
advice.
Best, forget the rest. But that's me sitting here talking to you about it. It's hard.
Yeah.
Like, it's not an easy. It's hard.
And I think that's the case for any, job. Real estate has a ridiculous failure rate in the first 5 years, right? Yeah. Restaurants have ridiculous failure rates in the first 5 years. I'm sure contracting and things like that, I don't know the numbers on them, but I would expect that they have a similar, right?
Totally.
It's the challenge. It's learning how to keep the books balanced. It's learning how to pay the guys and make sure that you still got, the ability to put food on the table for your own family and things like that, which are a challenge. Do you think that if you could go back, you're now a full service stop for the community, that wasn't how it started?
No.
Do you think that if you could go back, you would try to accelerate to the point that you're at now, or do you think that you grew fairly organically to where you are, that it made a lot of sense with how you did it?
Yeah, second option. I would do it the same. Yeah, wouldn't want to grow too fast.
Yeah.
Just because you need to learn through failures and trials and tribulations of adjusting to the way it is.
Yeah.
And I still got a long way to go.
We're all learning every day, man.
That's right. Yeah.
So, it's been great to have you here on the podcast.
Yeah,
I've appreciated the conversation. I hope it was good for you. If somebody's watching or listening to this on Spotify right now, how could they get a hold of you if they wanted to reach out about a project that maybe they've got upcoming or something that they need done to their home?
Yeah, phone or text message to my phone number, 250-231-1155, or Instagram or Facebook, you can message me.
Yeah, and I always see you posting stuff on your Instagram, right?
Yeah.
Kind of where you're at in projects and some family stuff as well. So it's nice to have that work-life balance that, the Kootenays provide us. So
totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's, great to have you here. Thanks for the conversation,
thanks for having me.
And we'll do it again sometime down the road.
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks, man.
Cool.
How was that?
That was great, man.
Yeah?
I really enjoyed
Wasn't as bad as you thought it was going to be?
No. It was really good.
Like I said, it's just us shooting shit.